like something like a virtue that I hold true?
It could be that. It could be like a religious belief.
Religious belief? Oh.
A political belief.
Okay. So is that what you kind of want more contoured then?
Well, no. I mean, you can select it. Just the important thing is that it's something that kind of shapes your decision making on a daily basis.
Okay.
Like not, yeah. I guess kind of like a core belief.
Core belief. Okay. And then do you like kind of the more political frame or religious frame? Do you kind of like those?
Honestly, like I said, it's my first one.
Okay.
And I think it's probably best to leave it up to you.
Okay.
So I've kind of been watching things on YouTube, people doing this sort of technique with people.
Yeah.
And it tends to be religious in nature. Yeah. Sometimes it's political, but it could be like karma. It could be like God.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, just to start checking boxes when it comes to politics, so I'm 22 years old, so it's hard not to be plugged into the political sphere, but at the same time, I don't really have a political identity right now, because there's so much I don't know. It's hard to just kind of claim a side almost. And then in terms of like spirituality and religion, I don't know. I kind of grew up Christian, but I don't really conform with the church. I do really like some of the virtues and ideologies of Christianity, more of just being kind and accepting and stuff like that.
So more of the less of the supernatural stuff and more of the effects of the belief that they have on you.
Exactly. I went to there's new wave churches popping up every week, right? So I went to one a couple years ago, and their core belief was that Jesus. Let's say Jesus was a real guy, right? But he wasn't the Son of God. He was just this guy who's like, hey, let's just be kind to one another, and that's what we're teaching,
Right.
This idea that we're only here for a finite amount of time, so why not make the most of it? Because if there's no heaven, why spend life miserable or prejudice? Like, get the most bang for your buck by being kind and loving.
Right. So even if it's not for your own goal of like making it into heaven or whatever, you're making
positive
your
impact.
life better, everyone else's life better in the present, and then hopefully that carries on to future generations.
100%. And it's and then they paint it like it's a win-win. So if there's no heaven, you live life well, and if there is, awesome, you get to go because you were just kind and carried love with you every day.
All right.
Kind of a cop-out, a little agnostic, but you know what? Whatever gets you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. So let's see. How would we narrow that down to like our core belief that you could? So you'd call that just kindness, or?
Yeah, I guess it's just hard not to sound corny or cliche, but I guess the most simple things are cliche for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. Core belief. I would say in terms of just things that I wake up with on a daily basis, it would be to always kind of carry yourself as a learner, always be a student regardless of what your vocation is, regardless of if you're actually a student or if you're in business or if you're a garbage man. No prejudice towards any type of career, but always kind of attack the day with the incentive to learn something.
Right. So I guess that would kind of be a sense of humility.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so that you're open to taking in experiences and without prejudging them.
Yep. Exactly.
Thinking that you already know what whether to reject it or not. Let it sort of percolate in your brain. All right.
Exactly. And like, another great cliche, but I think it was Socrates that was like, the greatest admission of an intelligent man is to know that he knows nothing.
Right, yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know.
So you're going to say like humility and kindness?
Humility and kindness, I would say, are the two big ones.
All right. So...
I know that's not a lot to work with, man.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's, there's not, I don't really, so the idea of the conversation is to explore why you believe these kinds of things.
Okay.
And it seems like fairly self-evident with this particular belief, why it's a good thing. And it's not immediately clear to me like what angles to take to kind of see if that is a sensible thing to believe, because it seems so like eminently reasonable and sensible, like straight off the bat.
Well, yeah, I wish I had something cool, but like I said with politics.
Well, let's see if I can do it here.
Okay.
So like on a scale of like 1 through 100.
Okay.
How would you say, how much would you say that this belief is like true to you, or is
probably like 90%.
Like you're sure that it's
like,
a valuable thing in your life.
Yeah, maybe like probably just because I'm so young, I have really yet to like explore the world and really test out these virtues and ideas.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's all practice right now. I'm writing down the playbook at this point. So, but I would say about 90%. Yeah, it's.
All right.
I mean, we're all kind of degenerates at some point. But
you can't help it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like again, on another scale of 1 to 100, would you say like you hold this belief because of evidence, like fact-based evidence, or you sort of have? So that would be the one side.
Yeah.
And then on the 100, like towards the 100 side, would be like faith, or like you have an emotional
or even pressure
attachment to
it.
Yeah.
I would say it's smack dab in the middle because there is some sort of faith in myself and humanity, but it's not divine faith. It's more just faith in existence. Right. And there's that.
And it doesn't have to be like I'm kind of so. When I was thinking about doing this, it was if someone had a religious belief or whatever, then it would be sort of evidence versus faith.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it was more of a political belief or something like that, it would be more like evidence versus emotion.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry I can't bring more like hard-hitting political stuff to the table.
That's fine. This is a good test.
Like I wish I'd be like, we got to build the wall, and you'd be like, why?
Right.
You know what I mean? So at least there's some concrete stuff there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So.
I have opinions on all those things.
About 50%, right?
Yeah, 50%. Just split down the middle because there's a part of you that wakes up and you kind of have that emotional pull just to do right, and then there's another half where you know that just by doing right, it leads right. I guess I know that sounds kind of redundant, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, that seems like a pretty. So, like, what sort of? I mean, you referenced Socrates before, so obviously you looked into this on a philosophical level in the past. So that would be more towards the evidence side.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, what other sorts of evidence do you think?
Just towards kind of my personal dogma.
That has led you to think that the kindness and humility is a good way to move forward.
Let me think. In terms of like concrete evidence in a world where everything's just kind of like advertised, some of the more inspiring, let's say athletes. Let's say LeBron James, right? I don't follow basketball, but I know who LeBron James is. But he, at least on paper, seems very kind and very humble, right? So he's late in his career, but he's always learning. He understands that he is not the best, but he can always strive to be the best. And you kind of see that across the board with athletics, right? This idea that when you reach the top of your game, you got people coming after you, so you have to continue to learn and kind of evolve. So there's kind of that humility, that idea that the work is never done. There's always something to work on. There's always a way to be better. And then the kindness aspect, I would say, in terms of evidence, is it's almost more personal because you never want to be kind based on someone else's agenda, right? So
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Your kindness shouldn't be indicative based on how people perceive you, right? You shouldn't want to be nice because you want to be perceived as nice. You should be nice because you just want to be nice and kind, right? So that's only going to get you so far. So I'm trying to think of like concrete evidence to support why kindness is something to believe in and kind of like prescribe to. Let me think.
So, in terms of the athletic example, that would seem like just sort of observational, rather than like
concrete
book reading. Or research.
Okay.
No, then that's fine. I'm just trying to sort of make sure that I'm understanding.
Okay, yeah, of
where
course.
You're coming from.
I'm trying to think. I don't think.
But so if someone else could say, like, I see athletes who are super full of themselves, and they're super arrogant, and they're also at the top of their game. Yeah. So why wouldn't you take? Why? Because it would almost. I can quantify it, but it seemed just as easy to make that observation.
Totally, man. Let me think. Because you could definitely say the same thing about Michael Jordan. I don't think he was very humble at all during his career.
And it seems to serve them well.
Almost
at least without digging too deep. Like they are at the top of their game
on the surface level. If or even with like Odell Beckham or
I'm a Giants fan.
So right on. Okay, good for you, man. I'm a Niners fan, so I have to keep that quiet around here.
Yeah, for sure.
You might get stabbed.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too far afield, but Odell Beckham is very frustrating because his talent is great, but he just constantly seems like he's going to mess up because of this
kind of ego.
That's driving him.
And that's hard too, because and I hate to take this down a tangent, but in terms of just who he is as a person and culturally what had shaped him as a person to be that way, it's like, I don't know, you have to kind of play with a chip on your shoulder, but for the counter argument of humility in athletics, shit, man, that's tough. Because I really don't know.
Even beyond athletics, you can see that sort of arrogance leading to what appears to be success and happiness in business.
Even Steve Jobs kind of a punk a little bit.
It seems like he had his fair share of ego going.
Yeah.
So that would be counter evidence. Yeah. If you
of course.
Think of like a reason.
What? Yeah. I really don't know because these two things that we're discussing, humility and kindness, it comes down to the individual towards the end of their days, right? So you sit and you reflect and you look back, and I guess it's personal, and like I said, it's hard to quantify. I honestly wish I had picked something a little more easier to discuss, but
it seems like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but it seems like that would relate back to what you were talking about before with the sort of independent churches where you're wanting to make things better for other people and yourself in your life. And you don't think like being an arrogant egomaniac would do that.
I don't believe so, honestly, but when it comes to just that type of living, of course we've seen examples where you can make millions of dollars being an arrogant egomaniac, but at the end of the day, like, it falls on you, and you have to be you, and you're the only one that has to live with you. So I suppose, I don't know, our culture does definitely indulge those with an ego. So in terms of just shit.
I'm not trying to turn you.
No, not at all. And I actually really enjoy this. I don't know. I really don't know. Our president is an arrogant jerk. So
he's the president,
and he's the president. He's top of the top. So apparently,
you could easily argue that it was those attributes that cut down all of his
opponents. The charisma, the feist, the anger, like that can get you so far in this world, but maybe that's more indicative of what we hold true in our cultural values. And so many people are unhappy right now, so maybe the solution is a switch and turn in values, I suppose. And it's all kind of wishful thinking to go, oh, well, why don't we all just be happy and nice and kind to each other, but at the same time, our ways of living and the people that we endorse obviously aren't doing well for us, right? So maybe it's time we start looking to people who conduct themselves other ways and looking at them as leaders and examples.
Yeah. With regard to politics, I've often thought that it's the case that the people that would do the best for us in any, name your office of leadership are people who would never consider running for such an office.
And that's so great. Well, and then again, you kind of get down the rabbit hole of the American political system,
But I think I think that would hold true beyond, like, just in politics in general. If you look like, the Philippines has Duterte, he's similar to Trump. Brazil's got Bolsonaro. Even someone who's on the other side, like Angela Merkel.
Who's in Canada? What's his name?
Trudeau. Justin Trudeau. And I think you can make a strong argument that he projects the same kind of ego and arrogance as Trump, or some, in the same
a little,
in the same vein. But he's on the opposite side politically.
Yeah, way more liberal.
But yeah, so that would be again like a. I don't know if you could find that in. I guess you find that in sports as well. Um, Definitely, there are plenty of humble athletes.
Yeah.
So again, it would be in politics, though. It is. One might say, if that was your goal to be a politician, that your humility and kindness would
be more of a detriment. Yeah. No, you're totally right.
Do you think there are other areas, professional areas, in terms of like becoming successful, where you think like maybe humility and kindness don't work for you?
Oh, that don't work for. Okay. We can run it back to Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, because Bill Gates was like another punk in the tech industry upon his arrival, and then he was kind of a brat. But then after he had built this big empire, and after he had kind of solidified his position, that's when the nonprofits happened. That's when he starts going to Africa and starting the Gates Foundation with his wife. So it's almost as if the driving force for almost any industry is a lack of humility and kindness, and then once you've afforded the ability to have that in your position, you can kind of enact those values.
Right. So that would be the argument that he needed that sort of arrogance and
drive
to get to where he was, and then at a certain point,
you can flip the switch almost.
Yeah. Right.
And again, that's American culture, and that's capitalism, and that's kind of like the dog-eat-dog world we live in. So you got to do what you can to get ahead. And then when you have that freedom and comfort to finally help, you can kind of exhibit some humility and kindness.
Yeah. So maybe. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So maybe that is kind of the telltale virtue of an actual decent human, is when you find your position, and when you're able to, like, when you have a platform, if you can actually use it, right? Because the big issue with Elon Musk, I'm just name dropping right now, is that he's not. He's super ambitious, and he has a lot of great ideas, but he's not really doing much to better the human condition or our lives, right?
Elon Musk? You could make the argument that, I think he has sort of something of a transhumanist kind of outlook, so I think instead of, feeding poor people, he's looking to, he's got this whole crazy space program and stuff going, hoping to, make it possible.
So he's just generations ahead.
Yeah, make it possible for humans to continue existing if we destroy the planet or something.
Interesting. And would you say that exhibits humility and kindness? Do you think he exhibits those? I mean, two things we've been discussing.
It might be that he's got a combination of the two.
Yeah.
And like as we talk about this, it occurred to me, particularly when we were talking about Bill Gates, if that would be like that kind of understanding of his progression would make you, or I don't know what you want to be or do, but would that be something that you might take away in terms of like where you're 22, you said. So maybe you consider acting, being a little bit more
tenacious.
I mean, there's nothing about being kind and humble that implies you're not tenacious, I don't think.
Or
that one is tenacious, but maybe a little bit more arrogant and egotistical to get to a point where then you could do more good.
Yeah. And build a platform. And maybe it just may be a tightrope, because the world, there's 9 billion of us out here, so there has to be a level. 7? Okay.
Working on 9.
Working on 9. There has to be a level of arrogance, because there's so many of us, and if you want to succeed, you have to believe you are the best at whatever it is you do. So
you think even before you are?
Yeah, even before you are. I think that is actually an important driving factor. But at the same time, I guess being able to compartmentalize those parts of yourself to be able to act responsibly. So you think you're the best, you kind of carry this ego and this arrogance, and that's your driving force. That's what gets you up in the morning. At the beginning of the day, you still have the kindness and compassion to treat others relatively equally. You know what I mean? Competition is competition, and you can believe that whenever you walk into a room, you're the most fit or you're the best person for the job, but still have that emotional depth to exhibit those two things we're discussing. And maybe that's more of a personal belief, is kind of like, and I don't even really know how to kind of put a name to it almost, but maybe it's like emotional capacity or emotional depth, the ability to kind of have that broad spectrum and work within those parameters and not be kind of like a prisoner of these
Right.
virtues.
Yeah. To have to realize that both can be useful and to figure out when to apply them.
Almost. Yeah. Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. Sorry if this hasn't been more substantial.
No, I think it's. I thought the religious ones would be much easier.
Yeah.
Because they're so black and white.
Yeah.
Political ones less easy.
Yeah.
But this is even more difficult, I think, because
it's way more
hard
obscure.
to kind of, especially with the subjects you pick, to find counter narratives that would make you not want to be kind and humble, which seem like very good qualities right off the bat. But it's good to be challenged that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that you've done well, because there is some stock in the fact that if you want to succeed, you kind of have to put kindness and humbleness in your back pocket and save it for a rainy day, because it's so competitive out there.
Right.
But okay, man. If this is at least enough for your first session.
Yeah, I think we can call it good there.
Okay, I appreciate you. This has been a great experience, actually.
So, just to finish up, would you say we didn't really talk about like how we talk about how much you 90% think it's true.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily correlate to you use it 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. But like after kind of exploring the benefits versus the downside, would you say
that shifted a little bit?
Yeah.
I don't know, because in this, let's just take this situation as kind of like an isolated incident where I get to kind of exhibit kindness and humility, right? I don't know. I think the 90% kind of holds true.
Yeah.
At least right now, because in this situation, I met someone new and I learned different things.
Right.
And hopefully, was kind and not too much of an ass.
No.
So, and it served me well. And I think life is all about these little experiences, and this being one of them. And kindness and compassion and humility led me here.
Led you here. Yeah. Excellent. Terrific. All right, Tyson. Thanks.
Fantastic.
So I'm gonna, like I said, this is my first one. My goal is to start having, have more of these and build up a YouTube or something like that. Course. So is it okay?
Yeah, of course, absolutely okay.
And I don't have it's non-existent yet. So if you put like your
signature
contact or something like that, so in case it does go up, I can.
Yeah, I got you, man.
Let you know.
Is an email okay?
Email, yeah, whatever you like.
Hopefully, get something a little more compelling in the future.